What is good, everybody, and welcome to the first installment of the Brain Forge Book Club. My name is Cody. Down below, we have Noah, and over here on my left, we have Eric. I know he probably appears on the right, but he is on my left. Anyways, what we're going to be covering today is this book called Limitless by Jim Kwik. It says here on the title, upgrade your brain, learn anything faster, and unlock your exceptional life. We read part 1, which is chapters 1 through 4. We're just going to be jumping in, talking about things that stood out to us, first impressions of the book, and anything that's, kind of how the book has affected us so far. So let's just go ahead and dive right into that. And first impressions of the book. Noah, what do you got?
Well, I mean, it's really, really well written. I thought it was going to be just some kind of self-help thing, but it's actually incorporating philosophy really well and just general psychology too. It covers so many aspects and it's pretty enthralling so far. I mean, everything that I've really read so far, I've just wanted to keep reading and keep going through it.
No, I mean, I fully agree. I mean, it started fast. It incorporated life experiences he had as a kid and how, those experiences he had kind of disabled him for the time he was in college and he had these limited beliefs. And what I love about this book so much is that he's trying to help people like him and so on break those limited beliefs because, it hurts you at the end of the day. You have to think in a bigger scale, broader scales.
Yeah, my first impressions so far, number one, Noah had said this the other day. The book is written really well. I really like the way it's written. My favorite thing so far is the little quick start guides. I like how it keeps the reader engaged and it gives you tasks to do while you're reading the book, which is really cool. Because a lot of people can't just sit down and read; they get kind of bored. But that's a great way to suck the reader in, and that's one of my favorite things so far about the book.
Agreed. And I love how he implements how does he say it? He says, I'm gonna teach you more about this on chapter 15. So it keeps you into the book
Yeah,
longer. So he's like, all right, now I definitely have to read to chapter 15, but what's in between
100%.
before that? Yeah, I love
Yeah,
that.
Uh,
exactly.
you guys, since we've been reading the book, has your mood changed at all, or anything
Yeah, I mean,
specific that you've picked up from the book?
yeah, I mean, it's really just like a such a good way to get started with the more you want to learn, and he's so far been detailing, and it just makes me really much more confident too of like my own potential too, and that's something that like I mean we all I feel like call into question at some point, but the way he talks about it too is just really inspires you to want to do and to live up to your maximum potential. So I'd say, yeah, it definitely made me feel
Uh,
much more. What about you, Eric?
Agree. The confidence at its fullest. I've always been a confident person, but at the same time, this book really breaks you free from those inner thoughts you have in your head. You know, People don't realize that your thoughts are your biggest enemy. And he's really breaking it down to you. It's like you have to stop using those thoughts and breaking yourself down with them. You have to flip the switch and break free from those. And that's what I got from there. Confidence, for sure.
Mhm.
yeah, I think uh, my mood wasn't like drastically impacted or anything like that. I would say that it's definitely just reinforcing the way that I kind of have been on recently, and am trying to accomplish and get to myself anyways, which is just being a more productive person, cutting laziness out, trying to keep technology use to a minimum. The quote that we talked about the other day was two things that changed the course of human history: fire and technology, right? He says you can either use fire to cook your food or burn your house down. In the same way, you can either use technology as a tool or it'll consume your life. That's this that's this book right here, guys. I mean, that's one of the hardest quotes that
That's a
I've
bar.
heard,
Yeah,
but
that's a bar.
that's something
That's a
for
bar.
sure that I love hearing stuff like that. It just gets me amped up.
And can you guys remind me of that? I mean, I remember the story of the factory, and he was saying $1
Yeah, the
for
screws.
the time
Yeah.
he's been there, but then $999,000 for the screw he knew to turn for the factory to start back up. And that was a beautiful
Yeah.
story. If you guys are going to start the story, that was probably like one of the
Go
favorite
ahead,
parts of the
Noah.
book.
You got that one?
Oh no, yeah, I mean they like that it just speaks to it like how valuable the knowledge of what you're doing actually is too, and how it can just really make the difference between somebody who thinks they know, what they really should know, and what they actually can like live up to their potential of getting to be the most knowledgeable of what they possibly can of any like field really. I mean, you can
Yeah.
channel this however, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
really just
So
yeah.
the story he's referring to for the listeners, there was a power plant that had shut down just out of the blue, completely stopped working. These people were without power for hours, and a couple hours go by and they're still unable to fix this problem. They can't get it right, and 24 hours go by and their power plant is still shut down. So they call in an expert, one of the best power plant engineers uh, in the country or in their area. I'm not too sure 100%, but he's a very good engineer. So he comes in, he looks around for just a couple of minutes. He opens up a breaker panel or something. I don't remember the exact story, but he sees a screw, inspects it. The screw looks loose, turns the screw, everything powers back up. The power plant is back. Everyone's got power. And he writes him a bill for $10,000. And the guy said, "That's absolutely ridiculous. You were here less than 10 minutes. All you did was turn a screw." He said, "I'm really going to need an itemized receipt on how you broke this
Yep.
down." So the guy whips out a notepad, scribble, writes an itemized receipt, hands it to the guy, and it says, turning screw, $1. Knowing which screw to turn, $9,999. And
Crazy.
that speaks volumes to what Noah was saying. I mean, just about having that knowledge of whatever it is your field may be or whatever you're interested in is so much more valuable than anything you can imagine. I mean, just unreal.
1000%. That story is I love that story. I love that story. But yeah.
I mean, speaking of that story, like what would you guys say stood out to you so far in this first part the most?
The the biggest thing for me was just how anybody can train their brain and become a better person or just a smarter person. And it's like your brain's a tool, just like your muscles. Your muscles can be trained just like you know. Okay, let me restart. Let me start. Listen, your muscles can be trained, and so can your brain. And a lot of people fail to realize that your brain is a muscle tool. You have to train your brain for it to get stronger. And the only way you can get it stronger is by learning new things, gaining knowledge, just by reading a book. Even train your brain to become stronger. And I finally realized that your brain, you can save your brain from dementia and stuff like that by just reading. And
Yeah.
I think that's
And
great.
to that point that you're making about exercising your brain brings me to another point in the book where I think it was the psychologist or neurologist studied the brains of the New York taxi cab drivers. And it was just, the neurologist was interested to see where these taxi drivers got this gifted memory from, because these people, they hop in, they say, "Hey, take me to 31st Street," and they take them there. And it talks about how these taxi cab drivers have to drive around on a moped every day for 3 years beforehand just to even get the license to try to drive these taxi cabs, to learn all these streets. And the point of this was, what they discovered was that these taxi drivers who have been doing this for years actually had a larger, more developed hippocampus than the average person, allowing them to have a much larger memory bank than your average person.
Those are just regular people too that
Yeah.
got that skill from just years and years.
Yeah, absolutely. But I would say
Speaks.
something that stood out to me besides that, he talks about the 4 digital enemies. I would say something I've been trying to work on a lot lately that I think everyone could really work on is just putting your phone down you know, uh, getting away from technology. Don't just mindlessly scroll through social media. It's okay to use social media, but social media is a tool, right? You need to look at social media as a means of communication rather than a form of entertainment, which it can be both.
Yeah.
But I think the point is not to allow it to consume you, like we had said earlier. Things stick out
I
to
mean,
you.
it's not a way to escape. It's just a way to like see, like communicate with people that you haven't in a while, or just to really see what's going on for
Mm,
like maybe just a brief second before trying to get back to the real world.
yeah, absolutely.
I have a question. What
Mm.
learning methods in this book? I mean, there's quite a few, you know what I'm saying? There's different methods we can use. What methods have you guys been using? I know it's only part one, but what methods have you guys been using from what we read so far?
So I haven't had a chance to implement much yet. We just started reading it,
Yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah.
what I did implement was one of the quick starts that tells you to turn off all of the unnecessary notifications on your phone, which I had a lot that I didn't even realize that I had, but it's like to the point where I had so many. You ever get that feeling where you're like, oh, my phone vibrated, and you check it and it was nothing, and it's just your brain giving you that, like, that's how you know too many notifications. So I went through and I probably turned off like 20 different apps notifications that I just didn't need, pointless stuff. So that's one thing I would say I implemented, not really a learning technique, but definitely something I took away from it.
I mean, he's just already in the first part just showing a bunch of different ways and to try to train your brain to do just to receive as much information it can and with and like hold it all. And so for one thing that stuck out, especially of the like the train things that I was trying to do today, even were to he said basically that after like the first few things you start to learn and then the last few things you learn will stand out with you the most. So the middle portion is where you're gonna have to go back and reread normally. And so today I was trying to really focus on like because it was I realized that yeah, the first few things were really easy for me to remember. The last few things were they stuck out pretty well. But so I tried to limit the amount of time that was in between the start and the beginning and just take some time to then refresh and then let it be that start again back to the end. And that, I mean, it already is seeming like it's making, I mean, maybe not major changes so far, but
Yeah,
it's at least starting to
Step by
help.
step. Yeah,
I think
Yeah,
1000%.
exactly.
I mean that could definitely benefit someone like you extremely. Like you have it's ADD, ADHD. What
ADHD, yeah.
ADHD, so guys, I grew up with him, and he has ADHD sometimes where it's like, nothing he could do about it. It's just it he has a shorter attention span at times, and I think that like implementing that could definitely help someone like you or anyone else maybe with a
Yeah.
similar problem.
I mean, it's so easy, especially with ADHD or ADD or whatever, to really lose track of stuff. And I mean, anything that I
Mm,
can try to do to help out that, and so whether that's new learning methods or
yeah,
anything, that would be, I mean, it's just great. And so that's why I'm
yeah.
really excited to keep reading this
Yeah,
book
that's
too.
really cool to hear that helped you. I mean, that's just like day one of trying it. That's really cool to
Yeah,
hear that.
But that's the power of this book. Like
Yeah,
he's challenging you to
exactly. Yeah.
really step ahead of it. You know what I'm saying? Like challenging you to go for it. 1000%.
for sure.
Yeah,
Love.
and just yeah, make a difference.
Just to
Yeah.
kind of wrap things up here. There was a question that he had asked us to ask ourselves, right? And he referred to it as the dominant question. And this question is a question that we constantly ask ourselves uh, throughout our day, throughout our lives. It's a question that we keep finding coming back to us in our brain. And I want to ask you guys, what is your dominant question, and what is your answer to that question?
So for me, I wrote down that my dominant question is like, how can I become the man that I want to be? And at kind of a double parter, what will my thought process at that point look like? Like for me, I've always wondered like, what makes someone what makes someone like whoever you are, the most real self-realized person that you can be, like what will your thought process, how will you think at that point? And so that would be just what I would love to try and figure out, and I'm hoping that this book can try to help me get closer to answering that and seeing what actually my thought process looks like when I get there.
You're trying to think like a CEO, baby. Like what steps did they take for them, and what was their thought process essentially?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
love that. I
You
love
see
that.
so many successful people.
1000%. I love that.
Sure.
My dominant question was, how can I better myself? How can I get better? And the answer is just continue to achieve a better version of myself, whether it's working out or just like little things throughout the day. Like, for example, making my bed. These are little tasks that you can do just to incorporate some wins in your life. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, I think that's not the final answer for me. There's more to it, but that just comes with life, and more experiences will teach me throughout the way. So I'm looking forward to it.
Sure.
It's a great question.
I would say my question, similar to everyone else's, my question that I usually ask myself is how can I get better? Part of that comes from my competitive nature. Part of that comes from me being stubborn and hard headed, and then part of that comes from me just wanting to be better. Uh, I think in everything I do, I want to be good at everything I do. I want to learn as much as I can about the things that I'm interested in, passionate about, and of course things that can help better my situation. And that's one of the reasons I'm reading this book. I think the same stands for the both of you, but
Yeah.
I don't necessarily have my answer yet to how I can get better. I think I'm in the process of finding that out right now, and I think that's a question that I'm probably going to continue to ask myself. Probably will never stop asking myself that question, but I think that's just because there's always room for improvement.
That's it. Yep. Always
Always
room.
strive for more greatness.
Always
So,
room. Yeah.
but I think that about wraps it up. If you guys don't have anything else to say, remember, guys, book right here, Limitless by Jim Kwik. Upgrade your mind, learn anything faster, and unlock your exceptional life. We will drop a link to the book down below so you guys can go grab that book if you want to. Feel free to read along with us and follow us on this journey. Join in the discussions. Drop your thoughts, your comments, answers to our questions down below. We'd love to hear what you guys are having to say. So yeah, that's really all we had to say there. Y'all just join us next time. We're going to be reading part 2. So if you'd like to follow along, catch up on part 1 and then go ahead and read part 2 to get ready for next time. Good? Everybody? All right.